Now, I recently transformed my body going from 93 kgs to 78 kgs. Have you ever wondered what's the best form of cardio, whether that's running or walking, specifically for fat loss? This video is directed towards people who have just started their fat loss journey and they're trying to find the best form of cardio for fat loss, because I wish I had seen a video like this about 5 months ago. It would have made my journey a lot easier. Okay, so what is the main difference between walking and running? Firstly, we have to understand that walking is usually low intensity cardio because your heart rate is usually under 120 beats per minute when you walk. When you do running, that's a higher intensity form of cardio because your heart rate is usually above 140 beats per minute when you're running. Does it truly matter how high or how fast your heart rate is? Yes, it's quite important actually. Whenever your heart rate is below 140 beats per minute, this is known as the fat burning zone. This is where your body primarily uses fat as its main source of energy. Because it's low intensity, your body doesn't need quick energy. So for low intensity cardio, your body prefers to use fat because it's slow and sustainable sense of energy. But for higher intensity cardios like running, where your heart rate is going to be above 140 beats per minute, your body needs quick energy, and fat stores aren't quick enough to sustain 140 beats and above. Your body needs a faster form of energy, which will usually come from carbs stored as glycogen in your muscles. So your body mainly uses carbs when you're running, and it mainly uses fat when you're walking because it's low intensity. Okay, so which burns more calories? Running will always burn a lot more calories than walking because you're doing it at a high intensity. The higher intensity you do something, the more calories it will burn. And walking is going to burn a lot less calories than running. But it doesn't necessarily mean that running is better and walking is worse. Here's why. Because running burns glycogen. Whenever you use glycogen as a source of energy, that tends to deplete your glycogen stores. The lower your glycogen stores are, the more your body has this urge to replenish those glycogen stores. So when your glycogen stores are actually getting depleted, your body starts to send a signal to your brain, which increases your hunger hormones so that it can replenish the glycogen that's been lost during that exercise. After you've gone on like a 5 or 10k run, you actually get an increase in hunger. Your hunger has increased, which means that you're more likely to eat more food because you're way more hungry than if you didn't go on that run. The signal that's sent to your brain, it can be so intense sometimes that you can actually become ravenous. You know that feeling after running a 5 or a 10k, you feel like you can eat everything. You feel like you can literally tear the whole house down and chow everything. That's being ravenous, and it comes from doing high intensity cardio. When your glycogen stores are starting to be depleted and empty, your body just makes you more hungry and you're more likely to eat more food. The only downside to this is that you usually eat as many calories as you burn during the run, or sometimes you even eat more calories than you even burned during a 5k run. When you run a 5k, when you run a 10k, you're not burning 1,000 calories. You're burning like 400 to 600 calories. So you coming home and eating a 1,000 calorie meal is actually going to set you off course on your fat loss journey. Now, this is where walking might be a better form of cardio. Because when you go on a walk, your body is tapping into fat stores as a source of energy. When your body taps into fat, it means your glycogen stores aren't emptying and you're not getting depleted in terms of glycogen. So your body doesn't have that urge to replenish the glycogen stores, and your hunger doesn't increase. If your hunger is not increasing, you're not going to eat more than you would have eaten. You're just eating the same amount of food. So all in all, if walking means that you're burning more fat and you're not going to deplete your glycogen and get super hungry, then walking might be a better form of cardio, because you can go on a long walk, you can go on a 5,000 steps, you can do 4,000 steps, and you can come home and literally not be that hungry after. But after running a 5k, you almost always want to eat something because you just feel more hungry. So yes, running burns more calories and walking burns less calories than running, but then running makes you more hungry. So then you end up eating more calories than you would have eaten if you just went on a walk. So in the end, I think even though running burns more calories, it just cancels out the more calories that it would have been burning, because you end up just being more hungry and eating more calories anyway. You have to remember that fat loss is about input versus output. How many calories are you eating, inputting, and how many calories are you burning, outputting? If yes, running means that you burn more calories, but it means that you eat more, then it sort of just cancels out its effect of burning more calories, because you're just gonna eat back the calories that you burned anyway. Now, next thing is sustainability. Which is more sustainable, running or walking on a day-to-day basis? Now, every single time you go on a run, running has a lot more impact on your joints and recovery. You need recovery when you go on a run. You can't just go from not running at all to running every single day for the rest of your life. But walking is a lot more gentle on joints, and you can recover from walking a lot quicker. In fact, you can actually do walking every single day consistently for the rest of your life, and you don't need that much recovery because walking is low impact and it's low intensity. Running knocks on your joints. It literally does, especially if you are overweight or you're above 100 kgs. Running is gonna be very, very hard on your joints. And consistency is key when it comes to cardio. It's not about what burns the most calories. It's about what can you do sustainably, consistently, every single day for the rest of your life. If that means you can walk and you're comfortable with walking every single day for the rest of your life, then walking might be a better option for you. If running means that you need 2 days to recover from each run because your joints are painful, you feel tired, and your body genuinely needs to recover, then that's not sustainable because you can't do that consistently, repeatedly over a long period of time. You need consistent habits that you can do every single day repeatedly that will make your fat loss journey a lot easier. Now we're on to muscle loss. So which form of cardio is more likely to result in you losing muscle? Is it running? Is it walking? Is it both? Is it neither? Well, it's actually very interesting because running doesn't directly impact muscle loss, but what does impact muscle loss is having low amounts of glycogen in your body. When you're gonna run, you're depleting your glycogen stores, and as long as you can fill back up your glycogen stores with more carbs, then it cancels that effect. But if you're gonna run and you're on a calorie deficit because you're trying to lose body fat, then you're more likely to lose muscle because running is burning from glycogen and your glycogen is getting depleted. And because you're trying to lose body fat, you're trying to be in a calorie deficit, you aren't able to give your body enough nutrients to recover. When your glycogen is depleted, your body is more likely to tap into muscle. But because going on a walk you burn mostly from fat, your glycogen is somewhat intact, and your body can only tap into muscle when your glycogen is depleted. So going on running means that you're burning more glycogen. When your glycogen stores are empty, that's when your body can actually tap into muscle. Your body cannot eat muscle mass if there's still glycogen in your muscle. Your body doesn't even like eating into muscle mass. But if there's no carbohydrates, if there's no glycogen, it has no choice. So if going on a run means that you're eating into glycogen, and because you're in a calorie deficit, you can't properly replenish your glycogen stores, then yes, going on runs for fat loss means that you end up losing more muscle than if you went on a walk. So yes, you're probably a lot more likely to lose muscle when you're going on a run versus when you're going on a walk for fat loss specifically. If you're not on a fat loss journey, if you're not in a calorie deficit, then you're very unlikely to lose muscle mass because you have enough nutrients, you're having enough carbs, you're having enough calories and glycogen, so your body can recover properly. Okay, the next thing is cortisol. Cortisol is basically your stress levels. Whenever you do any form of exercise, you get an increase in cortisol. Cortisol is your body's way of regulating itself. So running increases your cortisol levels quite a bit. And the problem with having high cortisol is that it promotes fat storage and you're more likely to lose muscle when your cortisol levels are quite high. Now, every time you do exercise, your cortisol is spiked. But then as soon as you eat food, then your cortisol levels sort of drop because they are now being regulated. So 2 reasons why running keeps your cortisol levels high is because 1, any high intensity form of cardio will raise your cortisol levels more than low intensity. And the thing is, you can't properly recover, you can't properly eat because you're in a calorie deficit and you're trying to lose fat. So your cortisol levels are still going to remain relatively high compared to if you were doing walking or if you were doing low intensity cardio where your cortisol levels don't spike that much. When you go on a walk, it's very calm, it's very easy on your body, on your mind, so your cortisol doesn't increase that much. But when you do high impact, high intensity stuff, your cortisol levels go up like crazy. Just by having lower cortisol, you're more likely to be able to lose body fat because your body has more access to fat as a source of fuel. Now I'd like to give you an example. Have you ever seen a bodybuilder getting prepared for a show running? It's very unlikely because it's just not an optimal form of cardio. Walking is way better. It helps you keep more muscle mass. It's just way better for these bodybuilders. So I know bodybuilding is an extreme, but why don't we learn from people who go on insane cuts and lose a whole bunch of body fat? Why don't we learn from them? So what should you do instead? Look, walking is a really good form of cardio, but if you want to take walking to the next level, you can actually do incline walking on a treadmill. When you do incline walking on a treadmill, you can set an incline which increases the intensity of your walk. You just need to make sure that when you're on a treadmill, keep your heart rate below 140 beats per minute. So hold those silver bars with your 2 hands and it will show you your heart rate on the treadmill. Make sure your heart rate is below 140 beats per minute and this will keep you in the optimum fat burning zone. Incline walking is low intensity and it taps into mainly fat as a source of fuel. You have low risk for muscle loss and your cortisol levels remain relatively low. There's a reason why bodybuilders use this to get super shredded for shows. It's because it's just an optimum form of cardio. Okay, so the bottom line is use walking as a fat burning machine, your fat burning cheat code, and then use running just for enjoyment, just because you like running and because running is good for your fitness level and stuff like that, but don't use running thinking that it will be a better form of cardio for fat loss specifically. Running is a good form of cardio, but if you want to maximize fat loss, then walking will just be a way better approach for you.